Welcome to the show, Holly. So nice to have you.
Hi there, how's it going? Thanks for
It,
having me.
I'm so excited. As you can see, in honor of this episode, I am wearing a flowered shirt in honor of doing this
Oh,
edible flower episode.
beautiful. I feel like we're kind of matching here too. A little bit of the pinks going on.
So, in my intro, I mentioned that you, among other things, you grow edible flowers. So I
Yes.
thought we could just start off right off the bat. Could you give us some context? What do we mean by edible flowers and when it's used in baked goods or cocktails? And I know you've brought to our little set, in quotes, I say
Yes.
that, some stuff. So can you
Yeah.
show me what you do with these edible flowers?
Yeah, so I'll explain what edible flowers are because I think there's sometimes a little bit of confusion. Sometimes I think people think, I want to display with some flowers, I want to use them as a garnish, and they'll just pick some up from any store, any flower store, plant store kind of situation. But it's not great that way. You can't use edible flowers that aren't organically grown. So that's what edible flowers means. It means that they are edible. There are a lot of flowers that are grown mass produced and sprayed and used, like toxins are used on them. So we don't want to use those. But edible flowers means that they're flowers that we actually can eat for sure. They aren't poisonous to us, but also they aren't being sprayed by toxic solutions to try to keep bugs at bay. And it's really the way we're growing them that makes the difference of being edible and non-edible. But there are flowers that are poisonous to us that we should not be picking up every flower that's organically grown and eating it because it isn't great for us. But there are some flowers that are pretty fantastic and actually quite medicinal too, which I've come to find. But I will show you some of the things I brought. So
Okay, it's like
first,
show
I'll
and tell.
yes, it is. That's my favorite. So anyone that has come to my house ever, this is exactly my element right now. So I just brought some basic orange juice, and I dehydrate fruit as well. So that's a little section of my company that I'm growing a little bit, just for more garnishes. But yes, so the beautiful grapefruit looks awesome there. But I've got a gorgeous begonia flower to garnish there. I'm not sure if you can see it there. It's
Yes.
gorgeous. The begonia is quite sour. It's actually very candy-like. It's one of my favorite edible flowers. And one of the ones I've been growing for so long and had actually no idea that it was edible until I started my business. And I couldn't believe it. It's the most sour candy. Like I'll never eat candy again or anything. Like, it's just delicious. I brought a beautiful cake as well. Here we
Oh,
are.
wow.
So I will move my drink so I
So
don't make a
pretty.
huge mess. But here are some edible flowers on the side. It's an angel food cake, my favorite, with some Cool Whip, just some classic Cool Whip with some strawberries and blueberries on the top. But we've got some violas and pansies on the sides. And a little begonia in there as well. But you can just see the faces of them, like they just look gorgeous
Yeah.
and elevate any meal. So I have a lot of baker clients, as well as private chefs, but for the edible flowers, it's a lot of those bakers, and like more caterers, designers, who really see a vision in the colors or textures or design, and can kind of add it to their own creations. I think that's my favorite part about my business is seeing the other people create with what I'm growing.
That's
Hmm.
amazing. So for example, that cake has, like you were saying, has different flowers on it that
Yeah.
they all have different tastes, these
So
flowers.
these flowers specifically, they're all the exact same. So they just actually have different faces and different colors. So they're the same variety. These ones are violas and pansies. So they're a little bit of a lettuce texture, but they have a little bit of a sweet taste at the end. It's really nice on cakes and cocktails as well. I do have a begonia on here too, and that gives you like that nice sour taste. And I think it goes nicely with the strawberries too. That citrus, that very sour taste, it does add a lot to it. So these guys, I would say they taste, I would say, a little bit sweet. But I do grow borage as well, which is one of my other favorites. I'm not sure if you've tried borage. Have you seen
No,
that
what is
flower?
that?
So I sent
No.
you some photos of that one. Maybe we could like pull up a little little borage picture. But they're
Yeah.
blue star flowers, and they taste like sweet cucumber. So you taste them, and it's just this burst of freshness in your mouth. I love having them garnished on a salmon, smoked salmon with some lemon and some rice. Oh my gosh, it's delicious. But it really adds. I don't know if you've ever grilled cucumber with your salmon dish, but oh my gosh, a little bit of cucumber freshness as well, and the color, it really does add to it. The blue with the pinks. So the meal just becomes elevated, but also these flavors are coming out as well from these beautiful garnishes.
Is it correct to say that there are some flowers that go well with savory dishes and then other edible flowers that go with sweet dishes? Is that
Definitely. Yeah,
fair?
you can mix and match for sure. Yeah. Each flower has its own flavor palette, and it's just, yeah, it's beautiful. It really can accentuate each meal, each dish.
How many do you grow? Different, how
Oh my
many different
gosh.
varieties?
I would say right now about 30 to 50 varieties of just edible flowers, but it's growing. The challenge is just growing in my space. So I grow in my spare bedroom, so it's pretty tight. Yeah, exactly. So I try to grow a lot of flowers that grow about like 6 inches tall to like 12 inches tall. Like my shelves are about, yeah, like 12 to 15 inches. So yeah, as long as I kind of keep within that space, and I do grow other plants around my house as well, other flowers. But I do try to keep all my edibles in one room, just to keep it contained. I started growing with aeroponic towers as well. So I'm able to grow a lot longer flowers. So I do a lot of bachelor's button, borage, dill flower as well. We haven't even gotten into herb flowers. Herb flowers are the best. So I've this is like the biggest wow. I can't believe how many people don't understand that you can eat the herb flower. So the flower that comes out of the basil, chop it. It's so fragrant. It's actually more fragrant than the leaves sometimes. So if you're
Oh.
garnishing with that, it's fantastic on like a nice pasta dish or something like that. You can really get into things, especially with dill. I don't know if you've seen it's like a nice tutu.
No.
The dill comes up like a little tutu. I grow a lot of them more in the summer. I have some in my towers right now, not blooming, but coming up. You can just make some beautiful art with them. They look gorgeous. They look like little umbrellas. They're beautiful.
On the health side of things, do you have other examples for when you consume them, when you eat them? Other examples of edible flowers that have health properties?
Yeah, they're packed with vitamin C. Vitamin C is one of the big ones, especially in borage. So I see a lot of people actually eating them in the morning, feeding them to their kids in the morning, putting it in with their into their fruit bowls and stuff like that, into smoothies, just to pump up the vitamin C in the morning. I do eat them a lot too, just like little candies to be honest, but just because they're so good.
And if someone, let's say a chef, calls you up and to place an order, or someone, a baker or whatnot, are they asking you for specific edible flowers because they know exactly what they want, or are they saying, you know what, Holly, I want to make this kind of cake. What would go well with it?
I would say both. I would say my bakers ask for, they kind of have their idea. So I get a lot of like Pinterest boards. I get a lot of mood boards for what the cake is going to look, a lot of inspiration. That's for bakers, but for chefs, I would say they know what they're looking for, and they will ask me to specifically grow those things for them. So I partner with private chefs just so it's easier and they know what they're getting throughout the year. So I'll partner with them, find out what they want at the beginning of their season, and make sure I have that grown for them throughout their year. I do a lot of microgreens with the private chefs. I find that herb flowers are the biggest hit with the private chefs because they love to garnish it on all their main courses rather than just their desserts. They love to get into the incorporate it into the whole meal, which is really nice. It elevates the experience for all of their clients.
And are you seeing an increase in demand for edible flowers?
I would say so. Yeah. The more people are learning about organic growers and indoor growers in Canada, I think it's becoming bigger. I find that a lot of people are searching on Pinterest and seeing on Instagram a lot of growers growing edible flowers in different places, like California, for an example, is a really popular hub for edible flowers right now. But yeah, you see it coming more to like BC area. I see a lot of edible flowers coming up, and I think the population is just becoming a little bit more educated on edible flowers and what is considered a garnish. Because you don't want something that's been sprayed and poisoned touching the cake that you're about to sell to
Right,
somebody
of
else, right?
course.
So it's a little bit
Yeah.
of a risk. So I think people are, especially with everything going on in our world, I think people are becoming more self-sufficient minded, at least. And I think this kind of comes with that. It's an interesting niche, but it's got some pull and it's got some interest. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
growing. And you mentioned herb flowers. Chefs are interested
Yes.
in that. Are any other trends that you think are happening in this area?
Oh, I would say people are just getting so incredibly experimental with design in with cakes and with food in general. I think
Hmm.
you look at a cake, I think especially some of my clients in Toronto, just wow, the way that they're able to incorporate things you wouldn't put together, and it just looks like this beautiful masterpiece almost, and it's a natural masterpiece that you can literally eat. That's trending the most, I think. Just something fantastic and unconventional that you're looking at that you can actually consume, and it's safe and healthy for you to actually consume. I think that's like the direction a lot of my clients are going, and I think that industry is going. Just more artistic. I think people are getting more experimental with their food, and I think why not? I think people want to eat pretty things. I think why not? We're only here for a certain amount of time. We might as well eat like pixies and yeah, enjoy our food.
All right. And if someone's not a chef, they're at home, they're making a beautiful meal, what would you recommend they start with?
Basil flower. Basil flower. It's an incredible garnish. It smells so good in any, honestly, any cocktail. But really, it's such an amazing garnish in cocktails as well as any dish, like cakes. I've seen them on cakes look stunning. The shoots, the flower shoots are almost like a stalk, a bit tiny little stalk. So the shapes of them are beautiful. You can use them on cakes. And then I love garnishing with basil any meal. Honestly, any meal. I could put a little bit of basil on there. Yeah. Some flour too. The basil flower actually is white and gorgeous. It comes up like a stalk, and there's little bell white flowers that come across. And you can pick each one off, or you can just lay the stalk on, and it's beautiful. And if you get into colored basils, like Thai purple basils, you start getting more magenta flowers too, which is really, really beautiful. Yeah.
And is that for like a savory dish
I would
or in a
say, yeah.
cocktail?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. What about for a cookie?
Pansies all the way. These guys, mostly because you can flatten them, they do really well with a baked good. I love to press mine first, and then you get that preserved color, and then you can kind of I've seen people almost use a sugar liquid and just paint and just press them right on, just paint them right on the cookies. It's pretty cool. It's more delicate, very delicate flour, but they look beautiful. The faces are so unique on them, and it really, yeah, it adds a lot to a cookie face for sure.
Okay. And I have a question. I'm
Yeah.
asking it on behalf of a friend of mine. It's a
Yes. Yeah.
he grows an amazing garden at home, lots
Awesome.
of vegetables, and he had a question. I never even really, I mean, to be honest, I don't know a lot about this stuff, but he does, and he had a
Sure.
question about male versus female flowers, and which, for example, he gave the example of a zucchini. Which can you eat?
I would eat the males because I believe the females will produce the fruit. This, don't hold me to this, but like that's what I'm thinking, and that's like my first thought. Yeah, I think any edible flower, it's not that it's not going to be good for you or it's going to hurt you or something like that. It's more actually about preserving the plant and being more sustainable. That's where I'm thinking right
Okay.
now. It's just to keep that life cycle going. And also don't eat too many blooms from an herb. Well, herb plants are okay because they love to be chopped like that, but from cucumber or yeah, like vegetable kind of flowers, you want to make sure you're not taking too many so that that plant actually produces something for you too. just so that you get the best of both worlds. Yeah, because not every flower will pollinate in bloom. Not every single one. Hope, but not every single one. So you can take and remove a few as you go. But yeah, you want to make sure that plant's preserved. Unless you have many of them, then you can kind of sparsely go ahead. But with like violas and other flowers that I grow, violas love to be picked. They will love it. Same with borage. So the more you pick them, the more they grow back. It's quite amazing, actually. But yeah, with a cucumber example, I think that's what I would say about that one.
Okay, stick with
Hmm.
the males.
Yes, kill them.
Okay.
Just food for thought.
If someone wants to get in touch with you,
Yes,
maybe you can tell listeners where you're located, where you
of
ship,
course.
and your contact info, like your Instagram handle and all that.
Of course, yes. So we are Just Keep Growing company. I'm in London, Ontario, and my Instagram is Just Keep Growing Company. And if you'd like to reach out to me on email, it's justkeepgrowingcompany@gmail.com. I ship every 2 weeks to Toronto and the GTA area, and I do free delivery in London, Ontario. So if you are looking for edible flowers, definitely let me know. And I also co-host a podcast called Growability. It's at growabilitypod.com as well, if you'd like to check that out. We do interview lots of cool professionals in the urban agriculture industry, and yeah, we talk a lot about food security, community, lots of good stuff.
I'm sorry to my US listeners that you won't be able
Yeah.
to enjoy Holly's
uh,
products, but
Maybe one day, maybe one
maybe one
day.
day, maybe one
Hopes.
day. And for those who are closer geographically to Holly, she has agreed to help us do a giveaway of a box of her edible flowers. So if you live in the Greater Toronto area or anywhere in between the GTA and London, Ontario, please sign up for our newsletter, because in our next newsletter, we are going to do a giveaway. Thank you so much, Holly. It was a pleasure to meet you and see your wonderful, beautiful cake and cocktail. And I
Thank
wish
you.
you much success with your business. All content provided or opinions expressed in this podcast are for informational purposes only and are not a substitute for professional medical advice. Please seek advice from your doctor or other qualified healthcare practitioner.